channel for countries to achieve some of these sustainable development goals. Now, let us get back to the overall policy background in India. You know that before 1991, India followed one particular type of development strategy, which is based on direct role for the state, which is called economic planning. Right? The government initiated economic planning and which products to be produced, which industries should operate in the country, where should resources be allocated. All these decisions are taken basically by the government, by the state, through various mechanisms, including industrial licensing, right? And there is a planning commission. There are various other tools like trade controls, etc. So that is how we try to achieve growth and try to achieve our development goals. And we followed that strategy after independence till about 1991. But then, when we look back at the experience of the country, we understood that many of those goals did not materialize. Like India did not grow very fast. Our growth rate was about 3.5% per annum during that period. It was famously called what is called a Hindu rate of growth. That was the average growth rate in the country experienced. Poverty remained stubbornly very high. There was very little poverty reduction. Right? A large proportion of people remained below the poverty line, about more than 60% were below above the poverty line. That means they were poor. Inequality remained very high. Because why inequality remained very high is because during that period, only the big industrial houses, they got the industrial license. Like, you had the Tatas, Birlas, and all these big houses. They cornered most of the industrial licenses. And small scale industries found it very difficult to operate in the country because you needed permissions, you needed licenses, etc. from the government. It was very difficult to obtain. Only the powerful and influential could get it. So the big industrial houses benefited from that type of a strategy where there is a lot of government intervention in the market. And so inequality remained also very high. And then there were macroeconomic problems like balance of payment difficulties that the country faced in 1991. That is mainly because our export was not growing. Unless your export grows, we do not get enough foreign currency, the dollar. Why we need a foreign currency? Because we need foreign currency to pay for our imports. Right? We have to import various things like capital goods, fertilizers, essential raw materials. So many things we have to import from other countries for which we needed foreign currency, dollar. The only way that we can get foreign currency is by exporting. But the export sector was not growing. Therefore, foreign currency reserves which the government or the Reserve Bank of India was going down. And that led to a crisis in the balance of payment account. Right? We were not able to meet our trade deficit, current account deficit. And therefore, the country was undergoing a crisis. And then the country approached the IMF for help. IMF agreed to help, but then they said that I will give you money, but you have to follow you have to make certain changes in your policy. You cannot operate with the trade controls. You cannot operate with the government deciding everything. You need to allow market and private sector to participate in economic activity. You need to open up your country for international trade, etc. So they put these conditionalities, right? This is what is called a structural adjustment program. They also said that you need to devalue your currency. Why devaluation of currency also? They asked to devalue currency because they said that if you devalue your currency, your exports become more competitive. You will be able to export more when the currency is devalued. So that is the type of things that they suggested, and that is why we have the economic growth. So from 1991, that process of growth continued afterwards. Industrial de-licensing was announced, trade controls were removed, import tariff rates were reduced, quantitative restrictions on imports were removed, foreign direct investment was allowed. So many things. Privatization happened, public sector enterprises were privatized. So what is happened now is that earlier the government decided which sector to grow, where to put money, etc. But now that decision is not done by the government. Government has very little role in deciding that. Instead, who makes the decision? It is the market, individual firms, enterprises. They make that decision. Which product to be produced, how much, etc. Right? That decision is left to the market. So there is a fundamental change that has happened. Now, in this context of this fundamental change that has happened, what are the opportunities that the country can exploit with the objective of achieving some of these sustainable development goals? Right? So we have now experience with this liberalization for how many decades? 90s, 2000s, about more than 3 decades we have the experience with the liberalization. Now what are the things which change? One is that the growth rate definitely improved, right? Because if you compare the average growth rate post 19 period till now, as compared to what it was earlier, now we have a higher growth rate, right? Now earlier period, when you say 5% growth rate, that is considered to be very high before 1990. But now 5% growth rate is very low. Now we want 8% growth rate. Then only we consider that as a good growth rate, right? So growth rate has improved. What about the poverty? Poverty, we know that it has declined. If you count the percentage of people below the poverty line, so there is a poverty line which the government decides on the basis of how much income that you need to achieve basic salary requirements for living. So if you count the people who are below that requirement, that number has declined. That means the absolute number of people who live below poverty line, that has declined. So the poverty has reduced. Inequality has gone up to again to a certain extent. People, the richer is gaining more, and or their income is growing faster than the income of the poor. So there is also a question that is the growth is not creating sufficient number of jobs. Job creation was not happening in a scale that is required for the population of our country. So these are the main things. And then another thing which has happened is that there is lot of surplus labor, particularly in the agriculture sector of India. Surplus labor means what? Like what is the share of agriculture in India's GDP? Can anybody say the share of agriculture? 20%. It is about 17%. That is the share of agriculture in India's GDP. That is the proportion of people, working age population, that is engaged in agriculture in India. It is not that much now. It is just below 50% as per the latest kind of estimates. About half of the population, nearly half of the population, are engaged in agriculture. But that agriculture is contributing only 17% of our total GDP. So that means it's a big mismatch, right? A sector which is contributing very little income, so only 17%, is supporting 50% of the workforce. So that means it is a problem, right? That means people are there in agriculture with very low wage rate or very low return, but they are there not out of choice. It is not that they want to be in agriculture, they like farming. It is not because of that. It is mainly because they have no other choice. Because no other choice is available. So therefore they are stuck there, they are not allowed to come out of it. That is one problem. The other problem is that there is lot of people who work as informal workers, the informal sector. Agriculture sector, of course, is informal. But then there are also informal sector in manufacturing and services. So what is informal sector? Informal sector means all small shops, tiny factories, who make household enterprises, all these cottage industries. These are all informal sector. And why we call it informal? The counterpart of that is for formal. Formal means something that is registered with the government. They have more number of workers, they use electricity for operations, and they are registered with the government under the Factories Act, etc. They are called the formal sector. The others are small, they may not sometimes use electricity. In those factories, sometimes the household labor may be employed. So this is the informal sector. But a lot of people in India, a lot of employment is generated in the informal sector. Right? Now, why people work in informal sector? Why do they work in informal sector? Why don't they why don't they work in the formal sector? Any reason? Lack of lack of education. Any other reason? Any other reason? Lack of skill set mismatch. Any? Okay. So, of course, lack of education, skill, these are some factors, but the main factor is there is no job in the formal sector. Jobs are not created. If you get a job, if you find a job, you will of course like to work there, right? In a company rather than in a small shop. Everybody wants to work in a company rather than in a small shop. But there are no jobs available in the company. So formal sector is not creating enough jobs. That is the main problem, right? So the challenge now in terms of job creation in our country is to absorb the surplus labor who are engaged in India's agriculture sector and the very low productive informal sector, take them out from there and employ them in more better sectors in the formal sector, which is more productive and pay more wages to the workers. So that is the challenge that the country is facing. Now the question is, what is the way we can address that problem? How to create more productive, high-paid, formal sector jobs? If we can address that problem, a major problem that our country is facing is addressed. Right? And all other sustainable development goals related to poverty, inequality, health, education, many of those things, even gender inequality, all these problems can be addressed. That is the channel through which you can address those problems in a very sustainable, in a proper, effective manner. So now the question is there a way to do this? One way to do this is, in the current context, is through greater participation by the country in what is called international trade activities. Why I am saying that is an opportunity? Because we have not exploited that yet. We have not exploited that opportunity that exists in our country. You look at our neighboring country, China. China was like India in 1960s or even up to 1980. If you look at China and India, if you compare the two countries, they had more population than India. India's per capita income was slightly higher than that of China in the 1960s. It was higher than that of China. India had more per capita income. So the two countries were more or less at a same stage in terms of development. Look at China today. It's no match. China was gone ahead. It has gone ahead in terms of every parameter, except one, that is democracy. There is no democracy in China except for that fact. In terms of all other economic indicators, China is ahead of India. Whether it is per capita income, whether it is tech sector, employment creation, education, health indicators, human development indicators, the standard of the universities. To look at whatever way in terms of those indicators, except in one indicator, which is freedom and democracy. China is ahead of India. Now, why China is ahead of India? What made the difference for China, which is not there in India? The one factor which made a huge difference is trade. Chinese international integration into the world market. So that is why I am focusing on trade. Because we have a very good evidence from our neighbor, which is similar to, it was similar to India till a few decades back. Now completely different, and they achieved many of these sustainable development goals already. One goal where they will be struggling is the climate change related, the environment related goal. Because of that growth, the environmental quality has gone down, right? There is more pollution. So that is the goal which they will be struggling now, which they will address. There are ways in which that can be addressed, right? Whereas in terms of all other 70 goals, they are ahead. Many other goals, they are ahead of India. Now we want to look at what is that work in China, which we can draw lessons from, and think about adopting those same things in India. One more example, again from our neighbor Bangladesh. You know, Bangladesh is below India in terms of per capita income. Their per capita income level is less than that of India. They are considered as an MTCC, least developed country. India is a developing country with a higher per capita income. Now, if you look at human development indicators, Bangladesh human development indicators are better than that of India. In some of the indicators, they have better indicators. Their labor force participation rate for women is very high. Lot of women, though it is a conservative country, a conservative country in terms of religion, but still their labor force participation rate for women is very high. What made the difference? Trade. Why? Because Bangladesh is a hub for garment manufacturing, right? Apparel, garment manufacturing, which is the country has become a hub. They produce garments for the world market, and all big brands, like the apparel brands which Nike, Adidas, Zara, all these big brands, they do business in Bangladesh. What type of business they do? They are the brands, but then they ask Bangladeshi garment factories, companies to stitch clothes for them. Those companies do not do any manufacturing. They do not do any stitching or anything. They only own the brand and the marketing network. They own the marketing all over the world, particularly the rich countries. But they do not manufacture or stitch clothes by themselves. They subcontract that job to other companies, mostly based in developing countries. So they found that Bangladesh is a good country to do that. Why? Because in Bangladesh wages are low compared to the wages in the rich countries. There is low wage. Why wages are low? Wages are low because there is a lot of workers who do not have jobs. So wage rates are low. There is a supply of labor. What we have in India, the surplus labor was there in Bangladesh also. So they found that they need to pay low wages to do this job. So Bangladesh had in international trade we call comparative advantage. You might have heard that term, right? So Bangladesh had a comparative advantage in producing garments. So therefore they started doing it, and then and who worked in these garment factories in Bangladesh? Who worked? Men or women? Men or women who worked in these factories? 90% of the workers are women in Bangladesh garment factories. 90% are women. And 90% of what Bangladesh exports is garments. What 90% of what Bangladesh exports to the world is garments. They will mostly focus on garments, and most of the workers are women workers. Now, what is the advantage when women participate in labor force? The wages are low, yes, but then women start earning income. Even though it is low wage, it is better than no wage. Otherwise, they sit at home, right? When you sit at home, what happens? You know what happens. After getting an education, when you sit at home, taking care of your family, children, elderly, all other people, you know what happens. You have no voice, right? Your husband will decide what to do, and they will decide how much money should be spent for what purpose, etc. If the husband has bad habits, drinking, smoking, the money will go there only. The woman will suffer at the home, right? But when they come into the labor market, start earning by themselves, they have greater voice. They have a voice in deciding where to spend money, how to use the money. So there is studies which is done from different parts of the world which shows that when women start participating in work and start earning income, they spend money better. They are better money managers than men, because men sometimes do not know how to handle money. They may go and spend it in correct shops and all those things. But the women spend money for children education, their health care, and all that. So therefore, what happens when they spend money for these purposes? What happened is that some of the human development indicators started improving. Children started getting education, their health started improving, etc. So that made the difference in terms of why the Bangladesh, some of the human development indicators are better than that of India, despite the fact that they have a lower per capita income than India. With a higher female labor force participation rate in Bangladesh is the factor. The main factor. Of course, there are other factors like microfinance and all that, but the main factor is the very high level of participation of women in the job market in Bangladesh. Similar story you can also see in other Muslim-dominated countries like Indonesia, where women participate in labor market very high. Right? Their participation in labor market is very high. So that plays a very important role. In India, on the other hand, the female labor force participation rate is one of the lowest in the whole world. It is one of the lowest. The only country which has a lower female labor force participation rate than India is South India. No other country. Right? So, among the major countries. So that makes a big difference. In Kerala, it is a severe problem. In Kerala, women are more educated than all India average. If you compare women's education level, enrollment rate, etc., in Kerala, as compared to all India. I had the data, table, and all that, which I don't want to show. But Kerala is ahead of India in terms of that. In terms of gender equality, in terms of education, Kerala is ahead of India. But then, in terms of labor force participation rate, Kerala is lower than India. Even though our women are more educated than Indian average, our girls and women, they are not participating in the labor force. That is a big issue. Now, how to address that issue? In India as well as in Kerala. Now, there is an opportunity that has come up now in the country, provided we utilize that opportunity. Now let me explain what is that opportunity. The opportunity is that China used to dominate the world trade. If you buy anything from the supermarket, electronic products, computer, laptops, mobile phones, anything, it is you would have noticed made in China. That label, right? Everything is made in China. Now, when you say made in China, we always get upset. Now, why they make everything? Right? Why can't we do some of those things? Why China is making everything that we buy? Now, you need to understand that this made in China label that you see when you buy things is actually a very misleading label. Why it is a misleading label? Because the fact is that China is not making everything. What they are doing, they are only assembling. And that is very different from made in China. Assembled in China is the correct word. Now, what do you mean by assembled in China? Assembled in China means China used to import. Import means getting things from other countries, right? They used to import several parts, components, intermediate goods, all these, which are needed for producing these computers, laptops, mobile phones, machines, all those things they used to import from other countries. And then using that imported components and parts, they use the final product. Like an Apple company, Apple iPhone. You know which country the Apple belongs to? America. Like Apple is an American company. But when you buy Apple iPhone, it is written made in China. How does that work? When the Apple is an American company, but when you buy iPhone, it is written made in China. How does that happen? Because of this assembly. Apple is doing their high-end activities in US only. Now, what are the high-end activities like undertaking R&D, designing the product, manufacturing the chips, the software, all these. Because to make an iPhone, you need all these, right? You need chips, you need software, you need to undertake R&D, you need to design the product. These are the high value added activities. All these high value added activities are carried out in US itself. Why it is carried out in US itself? Because they have all the people, the talent, the skill, and the environment for doing that type of high skilled activities. But the assembly is a low skilled activity, which requires a lot of labor. You don't need a very high skilled labor for that. You need just a labor with the essential basic skills. And China had a lot of that type of labor. Right? They had a lot of low skilled labor, but we got surplus labor, which India has now, right, in the agriculture and informal sector. So, what the Apple company and other companies based in advanced countries like US, what they found is that there is an opportunity to go to China and give this job to Chinese companies, right? So there is a company called Foxconn. Have you heard about it? Foxconn. Foxconn is a Taiwanese company. It is based in Taiwan, but they used to operate in China. So what is their job? What do they do? So they assemble products for other companies. Like for Apple, they used to do the assembly. So they used to hire tens of thousands of workers within China, and all these workers used to come from the rural areas. Right? Those who are having relatively low skill, but do not have jobs, or they were engaged in informal sector or in agriculture, they used to come from the rural areas and come and work in these Foxconn companies. And these companies are based in the coastal areas, the cities. So they travel from the rural areas, come and work here. So that way they earned income and they sent back that income back to their home. And that way they eradicated poverty. They created employment. And the China completely eradicated absolute poverty. There is nobody poor there now, which was not the situation some decades back. At that time, China was as poor as India, or maybe even more poor than India, but they completely eradicated poverty through this employment generation. Now, what is happening in China is that wage rates are going up. Why wage rates are going up? Because there is no labor available. All labor is employed, and the labor who is available there has high skill. They acquire skill because their universities improve, their technology improve, right? So wage rates are going up. When wage rates are going up, these companies which were earlier operating in China now find that it is not possible to operate there because costs are high. They have to pay high wages. So they find that it is now better to go and find out some other country. Now, which is that country which can take that opportunity? India. Right? Because India has a similar situation that China had in the 1990s. Lot of surplus labor. Many of them are engaged in agriculture and informal sector with very low wages. They want employment. Women are sitting at home mostly because they do not have an opportunity. They do not find an opportunity. Therefore, they sit at home. And then there are other barriers, like the norms and cultural barriers, which force women to sit at home, to take care of the children, the elderly, etc. So these things can be changed if jobs are available. Cultural barrier is not a barrier. Only if cultural barrier is a barrier, then Bangladeshi woman or Indonesian woman would not have gone to the market to work. That is not a barrier. That can be addressed, but only if opportunities exist. So first we have to create opportunity. Then only these barriers can be broken. And if there is a possibility of creating that opportunity, if India make use of this opportunity which is now come up. Apple has already come to India recent times. They started exporting from India. They have started assembling in India. And this is happening mostly in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, these kind of countries, states. They are doing the Foxconn already came to India. So our exports of Apple mobile phone is increasing. But then that is just one product. We have such opportunities in many products. So it is possible for us to replace China and give everywhere in all products sold all over the world to have that label made in India. It is possible right now. In addition to this opportunity which I have just talked about it, because wage rates are going up in China, so therefore countries like India have an opportunity because our wage rates are low. People are available for jobs. Apart from that opportunity, which is based on economic logic, there is also one opportunity, which is other opportunity, which came from what is called geopolitics. What is geopolitics? Where how countries are, related, their international relationship between countries. You know that there is a enmity that is going on, a cold war that is going on between the US and China. There was a trade war when Donald Trump became the president. There was a trade war that happened between China and the United States, and now that is going on, and that led to a cold war. Now, so what is the reason for that cold war? It is basically partly mostly it is based on politics. That Donald Trump wanted to say that China is the reason why there is problems in the United States like unemployment, inequality, etc. So he used that as a political campaign for getting votes in the election, right? And also it is largely driven by the fact that China is growing faster, so America is getting threatened. They think that they will become more powerful than them, so they wanted to do something. So they found an opportunity, and then they wanted to somehow start uh, uh, blocking China's progress, and that is what they are doing. So there is a this thing happening. The Cold War is happening. So that means the companies are now finding it increasingly difficult to operate from China. So they are now looking for alternative locations. So they are looking for alternative locations to do assembly for two reasons. One is the wage rates are higher in China, it is increasing. The other one is the political reason. And they are finding it difficult to operate in China. So they are now looking for alternative locations. And India can provide that opportunity. And if India can exploit this opportunity, several of our problems can be solved. What is the first problem we said? The problem of surplus labor. In India's agriculture and informal sector, they are working there with very low wages. Now, they can be brought back to the formal sector. Formal sector jobs can be created, right? Because of this assembly type of business, which is labor intensive, and people can get their jobs there. That can be solved. You can also solve the problem of high level, the problem of low level of participation by women in the labor market, because most of the people who work in these assembly firms are actually women. Like in the mobile assembly factories, assembly factories in Tamil Nadu, most of the people who work are there are the educated women. Educated means they have basic education, not like a engineering degree or some MBA or anything. You don't need that. You need a basic education. So they can work there and they can earn an income which otherwise they do not earn at all. It may not be very high income, but it is better than earning nothing. So they do that, and if you do these things in a large number of industries, then the opportunities are enormous. Because the advantage of this is that you are doing it for the very large world market. Very large world market. You are not doing it for a smaller domestic market. So when you do it for a very large world market, the number of jobs that it can create can be very high in terms of the scale. It can solve our problems the way China just solved their problems. Now there are other countries which are making use of this opportunity, like Vietnam, a country which is again low income country, but then many of these companies are moving to Vietnam. But Vietnam is a small country. They cannot replace China completely. It's a small country. India is a large country. So we can kind of absorb a lot of these firms, attract these firms to do this and make for the world. Right? We can attract these companies to India and provide incentives to make for the world, and through that way we can create jobs, etc. for Indian youth, particularly women, and increase the labor force participation rate for women in our country. So this is what first part I wanted to say. Now the question is, so through these several of the sustainable development goals, growth. So one of the goal is what? Growth. The other goal is decent jobs. When you say decent job, what does it mean? Decent job is not informal sector job. An agriculture job is not a decent job because you don't earn anything. You are there without earning much. Informal sector jobs, you have absolutely no job protection, nothing. You will earn very low wage. So that is not a decent job. So growth and decent job objective is directly addressed if you create this opportunity. Now, as an offshoot of that, when you create jobs and when you create growth, you can address other problems also. Gender equality problem can be addressed. How? Because it creates opportunity for women to participate in productive activities. So you are creating, you are addressing that objective also. Gender equality. You are also addressing the objective of poverty eradication because it creates jobs, income is generated, and poverty goes away. It can address the problem of inequality also. How? There are two ways in which you can address the inequality problem. One is you tax the rich. There are some people who are poor, who are very rich. But tax them, so you bring them down. That is one approach. The other approach is there are poor, you push them up. One strategy is you bring the rich down. There is some Mukesh Ambani's and all these. They are very rich, super rich. Bring them down. That is one strategy. The alternative strategy is that there are a lot of poor people who have no job, no income. Push them up. Which one you prefer? You want to bring Mukesh Ambani down or push our 50% of the workforce up? Which one you prefer? You may say both. But if I have to give you a choice, that you have to choose only one. Which one will you choose? Pushing poor people up or bringing rich down? Pushing people up is better, right? Why bringing rich down is a bad strategy? Because they create opportunity. Mukesh Ambani employs lot of people. His company employs lot of people, not only directly. When they are employed, that creates indirect job creation. Mukesh Ambani may be employing directly some 10,000 people in his entire factory. But that 10,000 creates another 2 lakhs jobs. How? Indirectly. How do they create that 2 lakhs jobs? Because they earn income. When they earn income, they spend that income. When they spend that income, restaurants come up, hospitals come up, tourist places come up. Everybody benefits. So, bringing rich down affects everybody. Only reason where you have to address that problem is only when if somebody becomes rich through illegality. Suppose that Mukesh Ambani becomes rich because he is doing something illegal, something which is not acceptable. What we call crony capitalism. So if they become rich through crony capitalism, through corruption, through bribery, so that we don't give others don't get the opportunity, they get the opportunity. If there is evidence that the rich are making more money through that means, then there is a reason to address that problem. Then you can say that we should address the problem of crony capitalism. Crony capitalism means doing something unfair and then becoming richer. But there is no evidence that all rich in India become rich through that. There are some places where it may happen. But do you think that a person like Narayana Murthy of the Infosys become richer because he had some political connection or anything? Right? No, because he became richer because there is an opportunity and he participated in that. He used his foresight. They worked hard and developed a big company which created a lot of jobs. Many people benefited. Many people benefited directly because they worked in Infosys. Many people benefited indirectly because when people work in any factory, wherever it is, they earn income, they spend that income. When they spend the income, it leads to what is called a multiplier impact. The whole economy benefits from that. New opportunities get developed because of that income. So, the strategy of taxing the rich or punishing the rich or pulling them down and then address the problem of inequality is the second best option. That is not the desirable option unless the rich is becoming rich through unfair means, through crony capitalism. If that is the reason, then government has to do something. But otherwise, it is good that they are becoming rich. So that is one thing. The other better option is uh, push people up, make them part of the growth story, give them an opportunity to participate. That is a better option. And of course, there is a third option, which is like tax the rich, but you do not tax them so much that they are discouraged to make investment. Because if the tax rates are too much, then what will happen? They have no incentive to invest. So you have to find an optimal level of tax so that investment will happen, and at the same time government will get revenue. Both should happen, right? Government should get revenue and investment should also be encouraged. So find out that level of tax. It is not a very high tax will discourage investment. Because if tax rates are very high, then people find it not very attractive to invest because anyway you have to give money to government. So what is the point in investing? Right? So too much tax is not good. Too low tax may not be sufficient for the government to meet its objectives. So there should be some ideal level of tax. So that tax rate should be imposed. How do you find that ideal level of tax? It's very easy. If you look at around the world, successful countries which experienced good growth, what was the tax rate they had? We can benchmark our tax rate with that. Right? For successful countries which grew faster, what was the tax rate there during the time that they experienced that growth? So benchmark our tax rate with that, then we will know what should be the ideal tax rate, right? And then government is earn income, and that government's ability to earn income depends on the growth rate. If the economy is growing faster through taxation, government earns money. If the economy is not doing well, for whatever reason, government also becomes poor. Because government's ability to tax will go down if the economy is not doing well. So economy has to do well. Growth rate has to take place. Rich should be incentivized to invest rather than disincentivized to invest. So they should be incentivized to invest more so that growth takes place. And therefore government becomes richer. What is the advantage if the government becomes richer? They can spend the money for sustainable development goals, which includes eradication of poverty, improving the quality of education, improving the quality of healthcare. All these things they can also take care. One is that growth itself take care of some of this directly. How? When people get jobs, they earn income. That income can be used to achieve the sustainable development goals directly. That is the direct way through the growth process. The other one is the indirect way, again through the growth process. There also growth is important through government redistribution program. There also without growth that redistribution program will not work because government needs revenue to do the redistribution program. That redistribution is impossible if growth doesn't take place. For both the purpose, whether it is the direct impact of growth, which what we call sometimes trickling down, whether it is through that or through indirectly, through the government redistribution scheme, for both the purpose, growth is important. Without that, you may talk about all kinds of things. Without a country or a state experiencing this economic growth, these objectives cannot be fulfilled. Government will not have money otherwise. Right? Suppose that you don't believe in trickle down. You believe only redistributive growth. Even then you need growth. Whether it is trickle down or the other thing, both the cases you need growth. So this question of whether growth is needed or not for sustainable development goal is solved. Now, what is the way in which you can achieve that growth? I already mentioned one of the channels, that is, you create this opportunity which in the global development, the country should integrate more in the uh, world economy and make this growth process happen. So we'll have some break or something, or which time you know? What is time now? So, so we can take a break and then maybe after 10 minutes we can continue, or do you want to stop? Or we complete it? We complete. I have thank you for that. I don't need a break. That's the students one. We can continue and stop it. Okay. Okay. Now let us come to the environmental issue. That is another sustainable development goal, right? So the question will come when we participate in trade, growth will happen, but then it will adversely affect our. You want a break? You want a break? Yes. Okay. Take 10 minutes break. We will come back after. So, 5 minutes. 5
എൻ്റെ മൈക്കും ക്യാമറയും മ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്യും. ഫംഗ്ഷൻ ആക്കില്ല.
റിജിന്റെ കാര്യമല്ലേ പറഞ്ഞത്? റിജിനല്ല, റിജിനല്ല. ഇവിടെ നല്ല പൊടി
larger scale doesn't always mean more pollution. It can also mean less pollution because of the introduction of technology which is cleaner, less energy intensive, which is possible only when the scale of production is high, so that you can actually reduce the emission. That is one thing. The other thing is that when the scale of production becomes bigger, new innovations also it can spur. It can spur new innovation, which is energy saving. Right? Energy saving. You know what long time back there was this Malthusian theory. I will study Malthusian theory, population, the area of population, where he predicted that there will be a disaster that is going to come. Malthus made that prediction. What was the disaster he predicted? He compared population growth rate and food production. And he said that the population is growing at a much faster rate than food production. Then there will be a time when people will not have food and they will die. That is the prediction. If that prediction comes true in the world, if Malthusian prediction comes true, no, it didn't come true. Why it didn't come true? Yes, population was growing at that rate only. But food production increased more than the population growth. How? Because Malthusian theory made a mistake. What was the mistake? He did not secure the assumption he made. But other things didn't remain constant. What is that thing which didn't remain constant? Technology. Technology changed. Productivity of the agriculture sector increased because of technological progress. In India, you had a green revolution. In different countries, the technology of producing food grains itself improved. So, because of the improvement in technology and the productivity went up in the agriculture sector, the food sector, therefore, food production increased more than the growth rate of population, and we did not have the disaster that the Malthus predicted. In the area of climate change also, it is possible. It is possible. It is not automatic, but it is possible to have a similar outcome. Yes, we are all worried about climate change. It is real. It is happening. But if enough attention is paid to the problem, it is possible to block climate change or address the climate change problem through various means. One major way in which it can be addressed is through technology. You can produce everything that we produce today with significantly less emission. It will significantly less harm to the environment. You can produce everything that you produce today. That is possible. The other thing is that you have to create the incentive system in the economy by the government in such a way that it encourages the production of cleaner products, better, cleaner technology, and discourages the other one, like which is polluting and more energy consuming. And then government has to do other ways in which it encourages renewable energy consumption. So there is a combination of things that can be done, but the main role lies with the technology. The technology must be changed, which is climate friendly, energy efficient, and so that growth does not necessarily lead to harm to environment. So coming back to the first thing, there are three effects which I mentioned. One is the scale effect. Scale effect can have a negative impact, provided everything else remains constant. But it can have a ambiguous effect, or sometimes it even can have a negative effect on environmental quality if technology progresses more rapidly and or the scale effect enables technological innovations. the scale effects enables the use of more cleaner and energy efficient technology, then it can have a opposite effect. The second one is what is called composition effect. What is composition effect? It's like when a country opens up for trade, you know that some sectors will grow relatively more than other sectors. Now, all sectors will not grow at the same time, right? It's the same rate. The sectors or industries will grow at a different rate. Some industries will grow faster, other industries will grow less slow. So then, it depends upon which sector is growing faster. If the relatively smaller sectors, non-intensive sectors, etc., which uses less of natural resources and more of human brain, right? The sectors that uses more human brain and less of natural resources, those are the sectors that grow relatively more. Then what will happen? The composition effect will have a negative impact on environmental pollution. So if trade leads to a situation in which there is a relative expansion of the cleaner sectors. What are the cleaner sectors? Cleaner sectors will include IT related sectors, artificial intelligence, new technology based sectors. These all use human brain with less dependence on natural resources, less dependence on non-renewable energy. So these type of sectors, and we know that we are talking about the new technology right now, right? The things are changing in the technology front. We are now getting artificial intelligence, robotics, so many things. So our dependence on natural resources for growth can be reduced by making use of these new technology which is based on knowledge and human brain rather than natural resources. So again, the composition effect need not necessarily be negative. It will be negative only if the growing sectors are more pollution intensive. The assembly thing which I mentioned earlier do not depend on so much on natural resources. They are, what I said, there is a high technology sector. But assembly takes place country like India, making use of what? Not India's natural resources. It doesn't make use of any of India's natural resources. It only uses only one resource, that is human. Surplus labor, engaged in agriculture. So they are the ones whom we are leveraging upon. And that has no negative impact on employment unless it happens through greater use of energy. Like when you produce, when you employ on this factories will run. But generally, assembly doesn't require running of huge factories. Assembly is a simple process, right? It's a simple process, labor-intensive process. It doesn't require a lot of energy consumption. So, of course, assembly will be the shorter period only. After some time, the country will move up in the value chain. Initially, it will be assembly, but later on, other production will come. But other production again will be based on parts and component production, which are mostly based on again human brain. There is some dependence on natural resources, but the relative importance of human brain is more important. In the going forward in production, in almost all industries, the relative importance of human brain vis-a-vis natural resources is going to increase. That is the way the world is moving. We are using more artificial intelligence, more of knowledge-based inputs, etc. in as an input in several industries. Right? You like for example, in chemical factories earlier, human beings used to do certain activities in chemical activities. Now, those which are considered to be very hazardous for human health. But now, this is the robots. Those activities can be now performed by the robots rather than humans. That's a good thing, right? Because when not asking human to do something very hazardous to health. You replace that with a robot, and that will do those other hazardous activities, and that is good for human health. So technology can be used for both addressing those type of things as well as environmental issues. Now you know that robots can perform many of these activities which humans are used to do, but if humans would be required still to perform certain other activities which robots cannot do. You might have seen the film now that what is it called? Um, Android Punyapan. Have you seen? Yeah. So Android Punyapan actually shows the limits of robot. What robot can do and cannot do. Right? Robot cannot replace humans. That is what the message of the film. It cannot replace humans. You need emotional attachment, all that, which only humans can provide. So humans will remain relevant, even in a situation where technology is progressing. Humans' role will remain there, and that is what that movie was studying. So, okay, now coming back to the composition effect again can be negative or positive depending upon which sectors are growing in relative terms. If the cleaner sectors are growing in relative terms, it can be having a positive effect. But if the polluting sectors are growing in relative terms, it can have a negative impact. The third one is the technical effect, which I already mentioned. Like if the technology is improving, and the technology is less pollution intensive, it can have a positive impact. So it is not necessary that growth and trade is always negative for environment. So our understanding that if growth is bad thing for environment needs to be revised. There can be situations where you can get growth along with a cleaner environment. It is possible. Like the Malthusian theory, which did not work because of things he did not anticipate. The same way, we can achieve growth and the disaster consequences which we are anticipating today, like what will happen to humanity if this type of growth is taking place. That fear can be addressed if you utilize technology in a proper manner. That type of incentives and consensus emerge in the world. That is, this is the way that we should achieve growth. Then it is possible to do that. Okay, now one more thing. Like when an economy grows, there is something called a U-shaped environment Kuznets curve. Have you heard about it? Environment Kuznets curve. Environment Kuznets curve. Have you heard about it? Okay. So what the environment Kuznets curve shows is that there is a U-shaped relationship. Inverted U, right? Inverted U or U-shaped relationship. There is a U-shaped relationship between two things. What are the two things? What is the U-shape? Like this. U-shaped relationship between two things. What are they? Yeah, inverted U relationship between two things. What are they? It is between per capita income of country and pollution intensity. So that means it's inverted unit is like this. So that means as per capita income of the country increases, the pollution increases. Right? But that increase will happen only up to a certain level. After that, the pollution is a further increase in per capita income, pollution falls. Now the question is, why is it happening? What is the underlying logic? Why the pollution increases in the initial stage, but when the country becomes very rich, then pollution falls? The reason is that initially pollution is increasing because you are growing and there is a scale effect which can be negative, right? You use more resources, natural resources, energy, etc. So pollution is increasing the income. But after a certain point, when everybody becomes rich, per capita income becomes more, and people become rich, they will demand cleaner, right? Where do you have, you can think about the situation that, the people consume organic products as well as products which uses chemical fertilizers. Who can afford organic agricultural products? Who can buy organic products? Do you know organic products, organic food products? What is that organic product? If it does not use a lot of chemical fertilizer, right? We say that it's all poison, that's unavoidable, right? So organic means natural, naturally grown, agricultural products, fruits, vegetables, etc. So who can buy organic products? Only the rich. Why? They are costly. Organic products are very costly because your productivity is very low when you use only natural fertilizers, right? Biochemicals and biofertilizers, when you use, your productivity goes down. When you use chemical fertilizers, you can produce more, productivity goes up. The advantage of chemical fertilizer is that the price is low, so that the poor can buy. The organic chemicals, the problem is that it is cleaner, good for health, but the price is small because productivity is low. So only the rich can buy. So this is the reason why the Kuznets curve falls. When people have income, they don't worry too much about the price that they pay. So they can afford to have cleaner products because cleaner products are costly. When you have a poverty problem, the question arises, environment for whom? Right, in a poor country, if you use too much focus on environment, the question will come naturally from the poor. For whom are you protecting the environment? Right, for them, their priority is not environment, their priority is their livelihood. They want to get their basic income that is needed for meeting their basic requirements. Right? So, yeah. So that is the trade-off. So when income increases, there is a general demand for cleaner products, organic products. There is a demand for greater environmental protection. Like, in advanced countries, they protect environment better. When people's income are more, they are richer, basic needs are taken care of. There is a political demand for environment. Have you heard about the Green parties? Green parties? This is parties like, you would not have heard about it because they are there only in rich countries. They participate in elections and their agenda is environment. Right? In India, we have Aam Aadmi Party, their agenda is corruption. Right? They are the one, of course, now voting to a lot of corruption cases. But that is the agenda with which they came. There are other parties with different agendas. Same way, in advanced countries, there are these political parties, their main agenda is green. Environment is their main agenda. Now, there it is popular, why? Because people are rich and they want a cleaner environment. So the demand for political demand for environment increases when people attain a particular level of income. That is why the environment Kuznets curve starts declining after a particular level of income, so that people start demanding cleaner products, energy efficient products, organic products, all that, and energy per unit of output cost. So again, growth is not necessarily negative for environment. right? So there is a political demand for greener things when people achieve a particular level of income. After that, emission can decline per unit, and also when basic needs are taken care of, people's basic needs, health, education, food, clothing. When these things are taken care of, priority can be given immediately to environment, right? So that the quality of life can be improved, and priority can be given to technological progress, etc., which promotes development. So, so the agenda of growth doesn't mean necessarily conflict with environment, right? That is what it is basically I am trying to say here. And also, free trade agreements. Have you heard about free trade agreements? Have you heard about free trade agreements? Free trade agreements means when countries sign agreement that they are going to remove their barriers to trade. Like for example, India has signed a free trade agreement with Sri Lanka. India has signed a free trade agreement with Thailand. India has signed a free trade agreement in 2010 with the ASEAN. Have you heard about ASEAN? ASEAN is a regional group of countries. In the year 2010, we signed a free trade agreement with them. Similarly, we are now in the process of signing free trade agreement with the European Union, UK, etc. Now, there are many such free trade agreements that different countries have signed in the world. Now, many of these free trade agreements now have specific goals with respect to environment, with respect to climate action. So there are provisions for climate actions inbuilt in the free trade agreement. So what do they do? They say that yes, we will trade more, but we will also agree that we will take action to reduce emissions. So what is happening here? There is an agreement that the countries are making to reduce emissions. You know also the Paris agreement and all that. Apart from that, all these individual agreements that free trade agreements that the countries have signed, they have made this agreement that they will reduce emissions, they will take actions to mitigate climate change, etc. So that also means that the trade can be used as a mechanism to address climate objectives through free trade agreements. And most of these free trade agreements are climate related provisions. And they review this and to see whether countries are actually sign now follow those agreements and things work in that way, and all that there is a review mechanisms and all this happens. So that again means trade liberalization and need not necessarily conflict with the environmental objectives if we can actually contribute to the environmental objectives. And another two examples which I wanted to suggest in the Indian context, a place called Marathwada. Have you heard about Marathwada? Which part of India is Marathwada? In which state? Which state in India has a place called Marathwada? We know that in Kerala we have Malabar, right? In Kerala we have Malabar. Similarly, in one state in India, where is it? Can you guess? Anybody can do a guess? In which state Marathwada exists? Maharashtra, yes. Marathwada is Maharashtra. And Marathwada is not because it is one of the most dry regions in our country. Dry region means they get very less rainfall. Water is very less. They face a severe water shortage. Dry region, very less water. Now you know which crop is grown in Marathwada. Which crop, agriculture crop, is grown in Marathwada? Most intensive crop. In Kerala we grow rubber, right? Like that same way. In Marathwada, which crop is grown? Sugarcane. The most dry region in our country is growing the most water intensive crop. Sugarcane is water intensive, it needs a lot of water. Right? To grow sugarcane, you need a lot of water. Now, doesn't it look like a paradox that the most dry region in the country is growing most water intensive crop? You know why it happens? It happens not because of free trade. Had there been free trade, do not have happened at all. Why? Because free it goes against the logic of free trade. Free trade is based on cost advantage. Right? You are a cost advantage in doing something and you do that. This is what is called a comparative advantage. Now, based on the free trade logic, Marathwada can never have a comparative in sugarcane cultivation. Because the cost of production, market cost of producing sugarcane will be the highest in the world in Marathwada. But there is still growing. Politics. The only reason is politics. Because there are powerful pressure groups there which support sugarcane farmers. The politicians support them. They provide them huge subsidy. Exploit groundwater beyond sustainable level. Because the politicians need the support of the sugarcane farmer lobby. And therefore they don't open up that sector for competition. India's import tariff rate for sugarcane is one of the highest in the world. 100%. If had it been free trade, we would not have grown sugarcane in Marathwada, we would have imported sugar from there, from countries like, for example, Fiji. Fiji grows a lot of sugarcane. That makes a lot of sense for them because they have a lot of water. They are an island nation. Water is not a problem for them. They have enough water. So they grow sugarcane. We would have got it from them. That is the logic of trade. The logic of trade is that you get things from another country which can produce it at a lower cost. And you don't do it. Marathwada, you use it for growing other products like, for example, millets. Because millets doesn't require a lot of water. It doesn't require a lot of water. The logic of free trade would have supported growing millets in Marathwada and not sugar. So again, free trade doesn't mean it is bad for environment. In fact, the opposite, control, protectionism is bad for environment. Another important example is India. Punjab. You know Punjab, what is the major environmental issue that we are facing in Punjab? Depleting groundwater. The groundwater is extracted day by day, and the groundwater is getting depleted on day by day. The reason is what? Two things. One is the groundwater depletion, and the other one is I will come to that. What is the groundwater depletion? Why the groundwater depletion is happening? Is it because of free trade? Not at all, just protection. Why? Because farmers there are growing rice. Why farmers there? Earlier they used to grow other crops like wheat and all, but now they are growing rice. Why they are growing rice? Because there is something called PDS, the public support price, the minimum support. The minimum support price politicians decide, and they decide to support rice farmers. Why they do that? Because they are a big vote bank. And they always announce this minimum support price at a level which is very attractive to the farmers. So they all cultivate rice. Rice needs a lot of water. They extract water from the ground, for which politicians again give the free power. Power is free, minimum support price is also high. You produce a lot of rice, and that leads to a situation of a highly unsustainable situation. Had it been free trade, the the subsidy would not have been, because that subsidy is against the logic of free trade. Minimum support price is also against the logic of free trade. They would not have grown rice there. Rice would have grown in a place where water is available, not in Punjab, where water is going down. They would have grown something else where they do not require water. Again, after this growing rice, what they do there is what is called this burning of that residue. That leads to pollution in the air. So this is all creation of politics. This is not a creation of free trade or globalization or market or growth. It is not the creation of this. It is all creation of the politics. If you appropriately utilize the market mechanism, properly target or appropriate taxes and subsidies through the market mechanism, you can achieve your climate goals along with the growth. It is possible, but it's too much controlled by the government. Protectionism is what is the major environmental disaster, causing a major environmental disaster in the context of India. The two important examples which I said, one is in the Marathwada region, another in the Punjab. In both the cases, this is what is mainly happening. Now, I think we will close here. I will just take few remarks about Kerala now. Kerala, we know that we have a very unique ecology. It is very fragile ecology. We have floods, all these kind of natural calamities we are facing now. Now, if you ask me the question why this has happened in Kerala, if I ask you this question, why we are experiencing flood and some of these natural calamities, so part of the reason is, of course, there is a climate change related thing. But as more than the climate change, because the climate change is a very long-term phenomenon. It is a long-term phenomenon, but it is not a climate change. It is because of the unscientific land use pattern that people in Kerala have followed. Now, this unscientific land use pattern that people in Kerala followed, is it a result of growth process? In a way, yes, because people had it growth. So that they built houses. They built houses, they started farming in all types of areas. There were no controls on which area you can use for constructing houses or buildings. What are the procedures that you need to follow when you construct? There is absolutely no control, no policy, no regulations. Anywhere you construct, you block the flow, natural flow of water that leads to flood. Well, it is not because of so much of industrial activity. Kerala doesn't have any industry. Which industry Kerala has? It doesn't have much of industry except maybe some mining type of activities maybe happening in some city areas. But that is happening, yes. But that is not the main reason why it is happening. It is like people are making construction very unscientifically. Like, very close to the river bed, city terrain, everywhere. Agricultural purpose as well as for construction. And people are only interested in constructing huge houses. It doesn't matter where it is. House should be very big. And it should not matter whether people live there or not. Only thing is that our house should be very big. We should have 10 bathrooms. Right? 10 bathrooms, none of them is used, may not be running water, but 10 should be there. Why 10 should be there? Because my neighbor has 8. I should have more. This is the attitude. So that type of very distorted preferences. In a situation where there is absolutely no control, you think about some European countries, can you do it like that? Like, look at for example, Venice, the picture of Venice. The picture of Venice, if you look at some 100 years back and today, it looks almost like the beauty, the nature, the construction, the architecture, everything is controlled. Why at all? They say that your house cannot be of whatever way that you think. It should retain its geography, its topography, its look, everything. It is not like an uncontrolled expansion. In most of the advanced countries, that is what they do. They put restrictions on how you can construct things. In India, there is nothing like that. Everybody can do anything. So, do not blame this for growth. Only way I blame it for growth is that the people have money to do this. Come on, girls. People would have constructed with the money better homes, environmental friendly homes if there is proper directions and proper control from the government, but that did not happen. So that is what is happening. The other issue is with the agriculture, like the lifestyle problem in Kerala. We always, yes, Kerala has the highest human development indicators in the country, but we are also the capital for all kind of lifestyle diseases. Diabetes, blood pressure, cardiac issues, all these are the very high in Kerala. Why? Again, two reasons. One is the unscientific eating pattern. Right? We eat food which is not considered to be good for our health. We eat too much of waste. And also, of course, activity has come down. Now, what is the way out? So Kerala has two opportunities for growth. Actually, three opportunities, which is environmental friendly, health friendly, and it can address the problem of growth and employment. Three opportunities. One, sectors which are knowledge intensive. Knowledge intensive sectors, services and manufacturing, which is knowledge intensive, which uses very less of natural resources. That is one thing, like IT, artificial intelligence, all this. The second one is sectors which is leveraged on Kerala's unique ecology, which includes, for example, agro-tourism, responsible tourism, without harming environment, but using environment as a strength, our unique environment as a strength and preserving it and at the same time making use that as a growth opportunity for people. Like, there is a lot of demand for people who want to come and see natural environment. So, you don't disturb environment, rather you preserve and you use that as an opportunity for people to earn their livelihood. That model is called agro-tourism. You preserve environment and then also use it as a growth opportunity. That is another area where Kerala has an opportunity. Knowledge intensive sectors, agro-tourism, responsible tourism, and the third big opportunity for Kerala, yes, there is also a fourth one. The third one is like, we want to move to address these lifestyle diseases. The eating pattern needs to be changed, for which we have to move into what is called consumption and production of what is called millets. And Kerala has that potential of consuming as well as producing millets because it's the most environmental friendly crop and also good for health. Right? There is evidence that is coming from everywhere. That it doesn't require a lot of water, it doesn't require a lot of care. You don't have to take care of it the same way that you take care of rice or wheat or other crops. You just throw it, you grow. The only thing is that everybody has to do it. And then doesn't require a lot of water. So it is good for Kerala. Uh, um, a big growth opportunity for Kerala. Is increase the where this is the right audience to say this because most of you belongs to that gender. So then women is going to grow up, right? Because your growth is nothing but your sum total of productive factors. What is the payment that is going to produce? So when women come participate in productive activity, they contribute value to the GDP. When they contribute value to the GDP, your GDP will increase. That is what we call growth. Next, growth opportunity for Kerala. Earlier it was the Gulf migration. People used to go to Gulf, send the money back home. With that, the state was able to sustain. But that has now declined. And that was driven mostly by men. Women stayed at home. Men left. The next growth phase should be driven by women. Because they are the of the Kerala state. Men are poor. There are no boys. Very few. It should be driven by women, but they should come out of home and participate in productive factors. Then you will ask how do they come out? I have other responsibilities. I have to take care of household things. Where is the way out? The way out is to be provided by the government and there should be demand for that. What is the way out? There should be development of what is called, this is the biggest role for the government, development of what is called care economy in the state. So what is care economy? You know these agricultural activities, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Program, what do? They go and they do some jobs. Many of them are not meaningful jobs, but they are just employed. Instead of doing that, you train them to take care of children, to take care of elderly disabled. Let there be a care center in every panchayat, an elderly center in every panchayat, and a disabled center charity program people who work in that. They earn their income, but they do something very meaningful. Then, when they do that, what will happen to the women who are stuck at home? They can come out because their requirements are taken care of, fully taken care of. Right? They don't of their valuable time and skill need not be utilized for these. The highly skilled woman, educated woman can come out of home, participate in more productive activities, and the other constraint which keep them at the house is taken care of by the government through the development of the care economy. So that way, that can be a potential area for growth for Kerala. With this, I will stop here, and if you have anything, you can feel free to raise questions, and we'll stop. Okay, so any question, anything that you want to ask? Malayalam ചോദിക്കാം, okay? You can ask questions in Malayalam, not necessarily in English. Malayalam is absolutely fine. I will also give you answer in Malayalam. Yes. Economic. Okay, trickle down എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ എന്താണ്? നമ്മളിപ്പോ വളർച്ച സംഭവിക്കുമ്പോൾ രാജ്യത്തോ സംസ്ഥാനത്തോ വളർച്ച സാമ്പത്തിക വളർച്ച സംഭവിക്കുമ്പോൾ അതിന്റെ ഫലം താഴെ ലെവലില് സാധാരണ വീടുകളിലും സാധാരണ ആൾക്കാരിലും എങ്ങനെയാണ് എത്തുക എന്നുള്ളതാണ് ഡിസ്കസ് അല്ലേ. അപ്പൊ നമുക്കിപ്പോ അറിയാം, പിന്നെ കേരളത്തിൽ നിന്ന് ഒരുപാട് ആൾക്കാർ ഗൾഫിലേക്ക് പോയിട്ട് ജോലി എടുക്കും. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ കേരളത്തിലേക്ക് ഒരുപാട് ആൾക്കാർ മറ്റു സംസ്ഥാനങ്ങളിൽ നിന്ന് ഇവിടെ വന്നിട്ട് ജോലി ചെയ്യുന്നത്. എങ്ങനെയാണ് അത് സംഭവിക്കുന്നത്? എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് കുറെ ആൾക്കാർ മറ്റ് സംസ്ഥാനങ്ങളിൽ നിന്ന് കേരളത്തിലേക്ക് ജോലി തേടി വരാനുള്ള കാരണം എന്താണ്? കേരളത്തിൽ വളർച്ച സംഭവിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്, വേതനം കൊടുക്കുന്നുണ്ട്, മറ്റുള്ള അവരുടെ സംസ്ഥാനങ്ങളിലുള്ളവരെക്കാളും വേതനം ഇവിടെ കൂടുതലാണ്. ഇവിടെ വളർച്ചയുണ്ട്, കൺസ്ട്രക്ഷൻ നടത്തുന്നു, ആക്ടിവിറ്റീസ് നടത്തുന്നു, അത് തന്നെയാണ് ജോബ്. അതിന്റെ ഫലമായിട്ട് അവർക്ക് ബെനിഫിറ്റ് കിട്ടുന്നു. അത് കിട്ടുന്നതല്ലേ, അതൊരു വളർച്ചയുടെ ഫലമായിട്ടാണ് അവർക്ക് ബെനിഫിറ്റ് ഉണ്ടായിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഗവൺമെന്റിന് അവർക്ക് ജോലി കൊടുക്കുന്നത്, ഗവൺമെന്റ് അവർക്ക് ജോലി കൊടുക്കുന്നില്ല. അവർക്ക് ജോലി കൊടുക്കുന്നത് കിട്ടുന്നത് ഇവിടെ വളർച്ച ഉണ്ടാകുന്നത് മൂലമാണ് അവർക്ക് ജോലി കിട്ടിയിരിക്കുന്നത്. അതൊരു ഡിഫറെന്റ്. അതേപോലെ തന്നെ ഗൾഫില് കേരളത്തിൽ നിന്നുള്ള ആൾക്കാർ പോയിട്ട് ഗൾഫിൽ ജോലി ചെയ്യും. എന്തുകൊണ്ട്? കാരണം ഗൾഫില് വളർച്ച വരുമ്പോൾ, ഗൾഫില് രാജ്യങ്ങളിൽ വളർച്ച സംഭവിക്കുമ്പോൾ അതിന്റെ ട്രിപ്പിൾ ഡൗൺ എഫക്ട് കേരളത്തിലെ ആൾക്കാർക്ക്. അപ്പൊ ട്രിപ്പിൾ ഡൗൺ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന സംഭവം ഉണ്ടല്ലോ. അതുകൊണ്ട് നമ്മളെ പലരും പറയും തിയറി മാത്രമാണ്. നമുക്ക് ഈ രണ്ട് എക്സാമ്പിളിൽ നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാകാറുണ്ട്. ഓൺലി ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ഈസ് അത് എത്രത്തോളം നമുക്ക് സ്ട്രോങ് ആക്കാൻ പറ്റും, കൂടുതൽ ആൾക്കാർക്ക് എങ്ങനെ ഈ ഗ്രോത്തിൽ നിന്ന് ട്രിപ്പിൾ ഡൗണിലൂടെ കൂടുതൽ ബെനിഫിറ്റ് ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ പറ്റും എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. അതിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ് ഞാൻ ആദ്യം പറഞ്ഞത് പല മേഖലകളിലും കൂടുതൽ ആൾക്കാരെ തൊഴിൽ നൽകാനുള്ള ഓപ്പർച്യൂണിറ്റീസ് ഉണ്ട്. ആ തൊഴിൽ കിട്ടുന്നതിലൂടെ അവർക്ക് അവരുടെ ഹെൽത്തിലും എഡ്യൂക്കേഷനിലും മറ്റും കൂടുതൽ ഇൻകം സെറ്റ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള ഓപ്പർച്യൂണിറ്റീസ് ക്രിയേറ്റ്. ബംഗ്ലാദേശിന്റെ എക്സാമ്പിൾ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു, ചൈനയുടെ എക്സാമ്പിൾ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു. ചൈനയിൽ എങ്ങനെയാണ് ഈ ഗ്രോത്ത് സംഭവിച്ചത്, എങ്ങനെയാണ് പോവർട്ടി ഇല്ലാതാക്കിയത്? പ്രധാനമായിട്ട് അവിടുത്തെ ഗ്രോത്താണ്, അവിടുത്തെ വളർച്ചയാണ്. ബംഗ്ലാദേശിൽ എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഹ്യൂമൻ ഡെവലപ്മെന്റ് ഇൻഡിക്കേറ്റേഴ്സ് ബെറ്റർ ആയത്? അവരുടെ വളർച്ചയാണ് പ്രധാനമായിട്ടും. ഗവൺമെന്റും അതിൻ്റെതായ റോൾ ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. എങ്ങനെയാണ് ഗവൺമെന്റ് റോൾ ചെയ്യുന്നത്? കാരണം ഗവൺമെന്റ് ടാക്സ് ചുമത്തുന്നു, ടാക്സ് കൊണ്ടുള്ള ഇൻകം ഉപയോഗിച്ച് എഡ്യൂക്കേഷനിലും ഹെൽത്തിലും വേണ്ടിയിട്ടും മറ്റുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾക്ക് വേണ്ടിയിട്ടും ഗവൺമെന്റ് ചെലവഴിക്കുന്നു പണം. പക്ഷേ ഗവൺമെന്റിന് പണം ചെലവഴിക്കണമെങ്കിൽ ഗവൺമെന്റിന് ആ വരുമാനം വേണം. എങ്ങനെ ഗവൺമെന്റ് വരുമാനം കിട്ടും? വളർച്ച ഉണ്ടായാൽ മാത്രമേ വരുമാനം കിട്ടുള്ളൂ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഗവൺമെന്റിന് വരുമാനം കിട്ടില്ലല്ലോ. അപ്പോ ട്രിപ്പിൾ ഡൗൺ ആയാലും ഗവൺമെന്റ് വഴി ആയാലും രണ്ടിനും വളർച്ച അത്യാവശ്യമാണ്. വേറെന്തെങ്കിലും? അതാണ് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത്, കെയർ എക്കോണമി എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ അതൊക്കെ ഉൾപ്പെട്ടു. ഗവൺമെന്റിന് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്ന അതാണ് ഒരു പ്രധാന പ്രശ്നം. സെക്യൂരിറ്റി, ഇതിന് പുറമെ തന്നെ ഇതുപോലുള്ള പിന്നെ ഇടപെടലും ഗവൺമെന്റിന്റെ ഭാഗത്തുനിന്ന് കാണും. ഇപ്പൊ സ്ത്രീകൾ ഒരു ഫാക്ടറിയിൽ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നു, അവർക്ക് സേഫ് ആയിട്ട് അവിടെ പോകണം. ചിലപ്പോ നൈറ്റ് ടൈം വർക്ക് ആകുമ്പോൾ സേഫ് ആയിട്ട് വർക്കിംഗ് സ്ഥലത്തേക്ക് എത്തണം, അതേപോലെ തിരിച്ചു പോകണം. അതിനുള്ള ഫെസിലിറ്റി രണ്ട് തരത്തിലുണ്ടാകും. നമുക്ക് പല രാജ്യങ്ങളിലും അത് ചെയ്യുന്നത് പറഞ്ഞാൽ കമ്പനീസ് തന്നെയാണ് അവരെ സേഫ് ആയിട്ട് വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. പിന്നെ വേറെ ഒന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ തമിഴ്നാട്ടിൽ ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ പഠന കാലത്ത് സ്ത്രീകൾക്ക് യാത്ര, പബ്ലിക് ട്രാൻസ്പോർട്ടേഷന്റെ യാത്ര കംപ്ലീറ്റ്ലി ഫ്രീ ആണ്. പിന്നെ വർക്കിംഗ് വുമൺ ക്യാൻ മേക്ക് യൂസ് ഓഫ് പബ്ലിക് ട്രാൻസ്പോർട്ടേഷൻ transportation without taking it free. അങ്ങനെയുള്ള പല സംവിധാനങ്ങളും കൊണ്ടുവരും. അതേപോലെ ഓട്ടോമാറ്റിക്കലായിട്ട് കമ്പനീസ് ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള വർക്കിംഗ് പിന്നെ കുറെ വർക്കുകൾ ഈ മോഡൽ എന്താണ് വർക്ക് ഫ്രം ഹോം ആയിട്ടുള്ള വർക്കുകൾ പലതും വരാൻ പോകും. കാരണം നോളജ് എക്കോണമി ബേസ്ഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഗ്രോത്ത് വരുമ്പോൾ നമ്മളിങ്ങനെ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള ഒരുപാട് അങ്ങനെയുള്ള ഓപ്പർച്യൂണിറ്റീസ് വേണമെങ്കിൽ കൊണ്ടുവരാൻ പറ്റും. അപ്പൊ അതിന്റെ സെക്യൂരിറ്റിയുടെ കാര്യവും ഗവൺമെന്റിന് കാര്യങ്ങൾ. സോ അതെല്ലാം ഈ കൺസ്ട്രെയിൻസ് എല്ലാം നമുക്ക് opportunities to be there. Opportunities to be created. All other problems can be solved. Is that also fire?
Artificial intelligence പ്രാധാന്യം വർദ്ധിച്ചാൽ കൂടുതൽ യുവാക്കളുടെ ജോലി ഇല്ലാതായിട്ട് മാറി.
നല്ല ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ. അപ്പോൾ ആർട്ടിഫിഷ്യൽ ഇന്റലിജൻസോ പുതിയ കാര്യങ്ങളോ ജോലിയെ ബാധിക്കും. ആൾക്കാർക്ക് ചിന്തിക്കുന്ന ഒരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യനാണ്. ഇവിടെ നമുക്ക് അറിയേണ്ട ഒരു പ്രധാന കാര്യം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ പിന്നെ ഈ ടെക്നോളജി ചേഞ്ച് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന സംഭവം പിന്നെ പുതിയതായിട്ട് വന്ന ഒരു സംഭവമല്ല. പണ്ട് സമയത്ത് വലിയ ടെക്നോളജിക്കൽ പ്രോഗ്രസ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അതിനുശേഷം പിന്നെ കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർ വന്നതിന് ശേഷം ഇന്റർനെറ്റ് വന്നതിന് ശേഷം അപ്പോഴൊക്കെ ടെക്നോളജിക്കൽ ചേഞ്ചസ് സംഭവിച്ചിരുന്നു. ഇപ്പോഴും ടെക്നോളജിക്കൽ ചേഞ്ച് സംഭവിച്ചുകൊണ്ടേയിരിക്കുന്നു. അത് ഒരു പ്രോസസ്സ് ഇപ്പോൾ തുടങ്ങിയ ഒരു പ്രോസസ് അല്ല, പണ്ട് മുതലേയുള്ള പ്രോസസ്. അപ്പോൾ ഇപ്പോൾ നടക്കുന്നതിന് കുറച്ച് ഹയർ ലെവലിലായിരിക്കാം അതിന്റെ. പക്ഷെ ബേസിക്കലി നമ്മളോട് ചിന്തിക്കേണ്ട ഒരു കാര്യം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഈ ടെക്നോളജിക്കൽ പ്രോഗ്രസ് വരുമ്പോൾ നഷ്ടപ്പെടുമോ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ചില ജോലികൾ മെഷീൻസ് ഏറ്റെടുക്കും. പക്ഷെ മറ്റു പല ജോലികൾ മെഷീൻസിന് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല. അങ്ങനെയുള്ള ജോലികൾ ഉണ്ടാവും. അപ്പൊ ഇത് ബേസിക് ആയിട്ട് നിങ്ങളൊക്കെ ലോജിക് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഇതാണ്. അതായത് പിന്നെ സപ്പോസ് നമ്മളെ മെഷീൻസ് എല്ലാ ജോലിയും ചെയ്യുന്നു. ഈ വിചാരിക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്ന എല്ലാ ജോലികളും മെഷീൻ ചെയ്യുന്നു ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നു എന്ന് വിചാരിക്കും. അങ്ങനെ വരുമ്പോൾ എന്താണ് മെഷീൻസ് എല്ലാം പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. എല്ലാ ഉൽപ്പന്നങ്ങളും സർവീസുകളും എല്ലാം മെഷീൻസ് പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നു. അങ്ങനെ മെഷീൻസ് പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു ലോകം ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ, നമ്മൾ ഹ്യൂമൻ ബീങ് ചോദ്യം ചെയ്യാതെ നിൽക്കുന്ന ഒരു ലോകം ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ആ ലോകം എന്നെ സംബന്ധിച്ചിടത്തോളം ഹെവനാണ്. കാരണം എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് ചെയ്യേണ്ട ജോലി എല്ലാം നമുക്ക് വേണ്ടി മെഷീൻസ് ചെയ്തു തരുന്നു. നമ്മൾ വെറുതെ ജീവിക്കുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾക്ക് നോ വറി അബൌട്ട് അൺഎംപ്ലോയ്മെന്റ്, നോ വറി അബൌട്ട് പോവർട്ടി ആൻഡ് ഓൾ ദാറ്റ്. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെയുള്ള ഒരു ലോകം അങ്ങനെ ചിന്തിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ അതൊരു ഹെവൻ ലോകമാണ്. ദൈവം തരുന്ന ഒരു ലോകമായിട്ട് കണക്കാക്കാം. മെഷീൻസ് എല്ലാം നമുക്ക് ചെയ്തേക്കും. അപ്പൊ അത് സംഭവിക്കാൻ പോകുന്നില്ല. എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് സംഭവിക്കാൻ പോകുന്നില്ല? കാരണം മെഷീൻസ് എന്തെങ്കിലും നമുക്ക് ചെയ്യണമെങ്കിൽ അത് പർച്ചേസ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള എബിലിറ്റി നമ്മുടെ കയ്യിലുണ്ടാവും. ഒരിക്കലും ഫ്രീ ആയിട്ട് മെഷീൻ ചെയ്യാം. അങ്ങനെയാണ് നല്ലതാണ്. നമുക്കൊന്നും പേടിക്കേണ്ട ആവശ്യമില്ല. എല്ലാം ഫ്രീ ആയിട്ട് കിട്ടുകയാണ്. നമ്മൾക്ക് അതിന് മെഷീന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് മെഷീൻ ഓണേഴ്സിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് നമ്മളൊന്നും പേ ചെയ്യേണ്ട ആവശ്യമില്ല. അത് നല്ല അതാണ് ഹെവൻ ലോകം ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത്. ഗോഡ് ഗിവൺ ഫ്രീ ആയിട്ട് കിട്ടുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ ഫ്രീ ആയിട്ട് ആരൊന്നും തരാൻ പോകില്ല, ആർക്കൊന്നും ഫ്രീ ആയിട്ട് കിട്ടാൻ പോകില്ല. നമുക്ക് മെഷീൻ ചെയ്താലും ഹ്യൂമൻ ചെയ്താലും ആ സർവീസിനും ബോക്സിനും നമ്മൾ പേയ്മെന്റ് കൊടുത്താലേ പറ്റും. അപ്പൊ നമ്മൾക്ക് എങ്ങനെ പേയ്മെന്റ് കൊടുക്കാൻ പറ്റും? നമ്മൾ വർക്ക് ചെയ്താൽ മാത്രമേ നമുക്ക് പേയ്മെന്റ് കൊടുക്കാനുള്ള ഇത് ഇരിക്കുള്ളൂ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അത് ചെയ്യില്ല. അപ്പൊ ഇവിടെ ഒരു ഇക്വിലിബ്രിയം ഉണ്ട്. മെഷീനും ഹ്യൂമൻസും തമ്മിലുള്ള ഒരു ഇക്വിലിബ്രിയം എപ്പോഴും ഉണ്ടാവും. ആ ഇക്വിലിബ്രിയത്തെ നമുക്ക് ബ്രേക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല. ആ ഇക്വിലിബ്രിയത്തിനെ ബ്രേക്ക് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അതിന്റെ അർത്ഥം ഹെവൻ ഇവിടെ വന്നു എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. അപ്പോ അത് സംഭവിക്കാതിടത്തോളം കാലം എപ്പോഴും ഇക്വിലിബ്രിയം, there are certain services that machines will give. അത് നമ്മൾ ഡിമാൻഡ് ചെയ്യും. നമ്മൾ ഡിമാൻഡ് ചെയ്യണമെങ്കിൽ നമ്മളും വർക്ക് ചെയ്യണം. അപ്പൊ എന്താണ് സംഭവിക്കാൻ പോകുന്നത്? നിങ്ങൾ ഡിവിഷൻ ഓഫ് ലേബർ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു കൺസെപ്റ്റ് പഠിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടോ? ആഡം സ്മിത്തിന്റെ a division of labor will change between machine and humans. Machine will do, they will have a comparative advantage doing certain things and the machine will focus on that. Humans have a comparative advantage in doing something else, they will focus on that. We can get the service that is delivered by the machine. Supply and demand match here. Machines supply ചെയ്യുന്നു, അതിനുള്ള ഡിമാൻഡ് ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ മെഷീൻ സപ്ലൈ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ലല്ലോ. അപ്പൊ എവിടെ ഡിമാൻഡ് വരും? നമ്മളും ഏൺ ചെയ്യും, ഹ്യൂമൻസും ഏൺ ചെയ്യും. ഹ്യൂമൻസ് ആണ് ഡിമാൻഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഹ്യൂമൻസ് ഏൺ ചെയ്താൽ മാത്രമേ മെഷീൻ സപ്ലൈ ചെയ്യൂ. സപ്ലൈ ഡിമാൻഡ് ഈക്വൽ ആണ്. അപ്പോ അങ്ങനെ പറയുമ്പോൾ എന്താണ് ഈ ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞ ആൻഡ്രോയിഡ് കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങളുടെ കഥ പറഞ്ഞ മാതിരി robot cannot do everything. They can do only something. Care economy, those things where emotional support is needed, face-to-face interaction is needed, emotional support is needed, nursing. All these things ideally can be done only human beings, not machines. Right? So, അവിടെ ചെയ്യാം മെഷീനും സർജറി ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്, റോബോട്ട് സർജറി ഉണ്ട്. That is good because it is a high precision ആണ്. Human beings ചെയ്യുന്ന robots ചെയ്യും precision സർജറി. പക്ഷേ സർജറി ചെയ്തതിനു ശേഷം അവരെ പിന്നെ ഇമോഷണൽ സപ്പോർട്ട് കൊടുക്കുക, അവരുടെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ നോക്കുക, അതൊക്കെ ഹ്യൂമൻ ബീങ്സിനാണ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുക, മെഷീനെക്കാളും. ഓക്കെ 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 താങ്ക് യു. You made good question and I enjoyed interacting with you, and I hope all of you will work hard and participate in the labor process.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful words. Especially, sir, briefly explained the various challenges facing by our economy nowadays in Indian study manner. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation and for finding time to interact with our students. On behalf of Postgraduate Department of Economics, I express our sincere gratitude to you. Now, we are moving to the last part of the session. I invite Ms. Divya Venkataraman, Department of Economics, to officially propose the vote of thanks.
Respected Professor C.V. the International Conference Coordinator Dr. Vishna Tunde, other faculties, delegates, and the dear students who are present here. That was indeed a very much insightful and thought-provoking session, and I just say a few words or concluding remarks on the session we just had. So the session started with the question that why India couldn't achieve the so-called growth even after we have started our liberalization policy in the 1990s, because we didn't have any other choice and we didn't have the opportunity. So only by making the opportunities we can make, by breaking the barriers, we can make the opportunity to these sustainable development goals. So coming straight to the Viramani sir's session, the topic, harmonizing trade, jobs and environment. He very much did justice to this topic. He said it is need not be necessary. It is need not necessarily be a negative. The trade and environment trade-off could contribute to a positive view. Environment sustainability can be achieved with the help of technological improvement by tapping the informal labor or by providing opportunity to grow through providing job opportunities and sustainable environmental measures and especially by increasing the female labor force participation. So he concluded that the trade can be used as a mechanism to protect a sustainable environment. The mechanisms could be the trade like export import as well as the trade agreements and the political leadership and political demand for environmental sustainability also. So I thank Viramani sir for providing us the stage to discuss and debate on